So, Jamie Burke, CEO, co-founder of Outlier Ventures. Been investing in the blockchain space for about 4 years. Originally, I came from change management and digital innovation, working with large multinationals and corporates. And 4 years ago, became convinced that blockchain and decentralized technologies represented the next phase of the web. So basically, about 2 years ago, we'd spoken to over 1,500 blockchain startups at the time. This was kind of prior to a lot of the explosion in tokens that happened beginning part of this year. And we started to see a trend happening where companies that weren't necessarily from the blockchain space were coming along and thinking about how they could apply distributed ledger technology to their particular use case. And so that was IoT companies, it was AI companies, it's 3D printing companies that had fundamental challenges with infrastructure that would enable them to scale and scale securely. So we started to see that these companies were looking to leverage these technologies, and that became very interesting for us because we've always felt that the ledger layer be close to the point of free. So a lot of these startups at the time that were trying to build proprietary business models, charging rent to use distributed ledger technologies, we thought was unsustainable, that ultimately it'd be erased to zero. So we started to see that the blockchain technology itself was kind of more of a commodity layer, and it was about what it would enable on top of that. And so some of the most interesting use cases were things like combining distributed ledger technology with things like AI, which are kind of almost perfect bedfellows if you think about it. What does AI need? It needs lots of standardized data sets. So we wrote a white paper called Convergence, which was exploring this trend. How could DLT, tokens, smart contracts be leveraged by other deep technologies? And so that kind of became the thesis of Outlier, and is where we kind of focus our investments. So IOTA is a good example of that. IOTA looked at blockchain technologies and thought, well, how could this be customized or slightly refined to enable a new infrastructure for the scaling of IoT and industrial IoT in a way that Ethereum wasn't able to kind of secure machine-to-machine micropayments and stuff like that. So IOTA is a really good illustrative example of convergence.